Recently, while going to Glacier National Park, we first landed at Missoula, where we visited a smoke jumper museum. It was a very interesting experience. To become a smoke jumper, you must meet a variety of requirements, including physical fitness, experience, and other skills. For example, you should be at least 18 years old and between 5 and 6 foot 5 inches tall, and you should weigh between 120 to 210 pounds without extra clothes. You must have normal hearing and vision, and you should have previous wildland firefighting experience, and there is a lot of training to become a firefighter. And the person must be highly motivated, able to perform very difficult tasks, and also you should know how to use the hand tools, and you should be familiar with safe work procedures and basic first aid, and you should remain calm and quiet even at the time of stress. What you see above is the packs which they carry when they go for firefighting, and these are parachutes hanging which have come for repair work. Now get the first hand experience of the lady explaining about the smoke jumpers.
They will have to pack 85 pounds 3 miles in less than 90 minutes, and then a couple days later they will do a 110 pound pack test where they have to do the same thing, pack that 110 pounds 3 miles in less than 90 minutes. And the reasoning why they have to be able to carry that much weight is mostly starting with their gear. So all the gear up to, so we talked about all the different kinds of crews. You might start on a hand crew for your national forest, engine crew, and then work on a hot shot crew, which hot shot crews are also hand crews, but they're normally smaller and they're pretty skilled. They're pretty similar to smoke jumpers. They just get to the fire by ground transportation. They don't jump out of the heat, but what we can do something about is the fuel. So they use tools to dig lines in the earth called fire lines, and those act as barriers so the fire hopefully doesn't jump over it. So if you can imagine, this is a Pulaski. It's kind of the standard wildland firefighting tool. It's a combination tool, as you can see. So one end is an axe, and then the other end is a grub hoe, so you can dig. So you can do a lot of stuff with this. If you can imagine swinging this for 16 hours straight, that's a lot of work. So you gotta be in good shape to be a wildland firefighter. Probably my favorite aspect about the job of smoke jumping is that the smoke jumpers themselves actually make all of this gear. So they know how to sew really, really well. This jumpsuit is made out of Kevlar, which is the same material that bullet-resistant vests are made out of. And the reasoning behind that is, one, it's mildly fire-resistant, so it acts as an in-flight protection suit if there did happen to be a crash of any kind. But more importantly, it's puncture-resistant because they do land in trees. They don't try to because it obviously still hurts, but this is to protect them from whatever they might get into. This here is their PG bag, or their personal gear bag, and that will have water and snacks, basically things that need to be readily accessible for them. They've got some big side pockets down on their calves here. In their right side pocket, they will always have one of these with them. This is about 150 foot long let-down tape or rope. So if they do get hung up in a tree, they have a way to let themselves down out of the tree. And then any other items they might want for themselves personally on a fire, like a change of clothes or a tent. So you're provided sleeping bags, but you're not provided a tent. So if you want one, you have to make sure you bring it. Since they make all of this, they will actually sew pockets on the inside of the suit, and that's where they stuff extra things like the tent. And it works two ways because they get to bring it, and then it also acts as extra padding if they have a little bit of a rough landing. So a lot of times, so they do bring this empty bag down with them. A lot of times they'll sew a pocket in their bottom area and put this down there for extra padding for there. The types of parachutes that today's Forest Service smoke jumpers are using are square canopies. They're called ram air parachutes, and they function more like a paraglider, so you can actually steer where you're going pretty well. The photo that's behind us here, or the parachute that's depicted up in that painting there, above that spot. And at that point, somebody called a spotter will drop one of these out of the open plane door. So this is a streamer. It's very high technology. It's just tissue paper basically, but they will drop this out the door and watch it all the way to the ground just to see what the wind is doing. If it's too windy, they won't send them out. So earlier this week, they had a jump request up near Glacier area, Columbia Falls, and they sent them up there, dropped the streamers out, and they were being offset by like 600 yards. Way too windy, not safe, they're not going to send them out. But normally they'll do this at least a couple times to be certain, and once the spotter's comfortable, he'll let the pilot know, and they'll go from 1,500 feet up to 3,000 feet, and that's when they start actually sending people out of the door.
So you heard her explaining in what situations they will jump and when they will not. Training to become a smoke jumper is really challenging. The smoke jumping bases have simulators that lift trainees up and drop them at many different speeds, up to 10 miles per hour, so that they learn how to land properly. It's not only a high adrenaline career, but they should have various skill sets like stitching their own suits, and they should know how to build their gear and components for the upcoming fire season. They make everything they use, from the jumpsuit to the harness to the backpack. Landing a spot in the field is very competitive. The rookie training, as they call it, can be challenging and typically lasts around 4 to 5 weeks. For this challenging task, the salary is not very high. They earn around $33,100 per year, around $16 per hour. The smoke jumpers are employed by the federal government, but most smoke jumpers are temporary or seasonal employees that work the fire season from April through October. What you see above is a special type of cart which carries all their things which have to be supplied to them later on by the helicopter, and these fire or smoke fighters will be given just 5 minutes to get ready. By the time they should wear all their suits and the backpacks and get ready to jump into the place where there is forest fire.
Down at the bottom, the 5 white names. All the yellow names, those are also Missoula jumpers, but they're not able to jump today. So they might be in a manager position where they have to stay here, or they might be on
their duties are assigned on the paper in different colors, according to which they have to be ready to go for the place where there is forest fire. We were lucky enough to see one group of people going to the place where there was a forest fire, and the person who was talking with us, he got ready within 5 minutes, and he was in the plane which had no air conditioning, and it was just a basic plane with some seaters, and he explained to us how a person who has to jump will be sitting near the door of the aircraft, and then another person will tell him go and give a small kick, and he has to jump from the plane, and then he has to jump into action. It was a very thrilling experience, so I thought of sharing with you since it is a very rare experience, and I hope you enjoyed the Smoke Jumpers Museum along with me, and thanks for watching my video, and hats off to all the smoke jumpers who risk their lives to stop the spreading of the forest fire and save acres of trees on the mountain. Only those who are really passionate can do such a jobs. Hats off to them.